Now that we know how to orbit, how to pan with the hand, how to zoom in and out, and the shortcuts with the scroll wheel, we can try to refresh our memory with the 2D tools. Remember line, L, remember freehand, rectangle or R, circle or C, and how many sides we can apply on C. Remember the 2-point arc, and how many sides we can apply onto it as well. And now we have a new tool, F for offset. So this one says offset, F for offset. Now you see when it goes smaller, it disappears, it becomes true triangles. But if you press Alt, they will overlap. Now basically we will go to what this is. Select, just press space, select, click once to select the face, click twice to select the face with the edges, click 3 times to select anything that's connected with each other. Okay, again, once, twice, 3 times. The beauty of selection is Control, which shows a plus sign on the mouse, and Control Shift, which shows a subtraction sign on the mouse. Okay, plus sign to add selection, minus sign to subtract selections. Say for example, double click, hold down Control, you can see the plus sign, double click, and I am also pressing Shift for panning with my scroll wheel while holding down Control. Double click, double click, double click. To deselect, Control Shift, double click, double click. Or if you want to remove just an edge, click once. If you want to deselect everything, triple click. Okay, so practice. Another way to select is to go from left to right, which shows a solid bounding box, and right to left, which shows a dashed bounding box. This line was one motion, so it's treated as one line. But if it has a segment, say 1, 2, 3, and I select from left to right, only one segment is selected because the whole of it is inside the bounding box. Unlike when I select from right to left, anything the mouse selection box touches gets selected. For example, if I want to select only this triangle without double clicking, I do not select it from right to left because even the face outside will be selected. I select it from left to right, so even if this one's being hit, it's not gonna get selected since this is treated as one whole line. But if that line is, looks like that, you won't know that it's actually 3 segments. Then the thing gets selected inside the box. Okay, what else? Oh, that's useful for, let's say, selecting that, selecting this, selecting that, and then deselecting the middle, or double click to deselect the middle and the edges. This is very important when you want to make copies. So how do you make a copy? So I use V for move, but the default here is M for move. Example, I select this, I click M, and I move it. Anything connected to it gets stretched. But if I hit Control once, it shows the plus sign and creates a copy. Okay? If I hit Control again, it goes back to the move tool. So you can see the description below if it's on copy or move, or you can just see the plus sign. For example, I want to make a copy of this and this. Move, plus sign, copy. Okay? I do not use the move first before hitting the selection because I want to make multiple selections, right? So on any other command, you can also make copies by clicking Control. Example for Q, rotate. So I select this triangle. I want to rotate it around this pivot. So press Q, click once for the pivot. So that's like your left hand is holding onto it. The second point will be your right hand, the one pulling it. So without clicking anything else, just move the mouse and rotate to the desired position or input the angle. You can also do this and click Control to make a copy. Okay. How do you multiply copies? Let's say this, I press Control with the rotate tool. Let's say I want this distance. I click on it, and without putting any other command, I click like 2x, so 2 times. It creates 2 copies. 3x creates 3, but it overlaps. 4x, 4, 5x, 5, 15x, 15, 1x, just 1. The same principle applies when you are creating a copy over a certain distance. Example, this one. Move tool, control for copy. Let's say I move it here, and I want 5 of these. So 5x, 5x, enter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Since I haven't clicked anywhere else, I'm only using my camera uh, movement. I can still edit the number of copies. 3x, 2x, 5x. But if I click anything else like spacebar or cancel the command, and I try to hit 5x, nothing's gonna happen. Another way to do this is to use divide instead of x, which is times. So I make the first copy, I go to the endpoint, I inference by holding down shift, and I input 5 slash or 5 divide, 3 slash, 2 slash, 4 slash, 5 slash. So same thing. That's useful when you're making like columns. So how do you make columns? We need to know the 3D tool. So the 3D tool, using your navigation with your camera, is just push and pull, this one, or letter P. I personally use, what do I use? Letter S to push pull, because I use it so often, it has to be very accessible. But for now, use P. So P, click once and drag, and then click again when you're finished. You can do it with the second one. If you want the same height, just put your mouse over the first one, and you will see on face and a guideline. Click once, and they're the same height. Another way to get the same height is to double click, since it will remember the distance of the previous push pull. Cha-chak, cha-chak, cha-chak. Other extensions allow you to push pull this all at the same time, but really you're not going to use extensions for now. So that's pushing. That's pulling. How about pushing? Let's say offset, letter F. Okay, F, chuck. Or another way to offset is to select first, deselect this two, remember, right to left, and then offset. So I don't have to, delete this one and draw a line and draw a line. So to push, same thing, P, click, and then hover down. When you hit the surface, it gets trimmed, or it punches the hole. See? No, no, yes. Okay? Same thing here. This one, I'm having a hard time trying to reach the back end. So I can inference with the guideline to align it there, because I know that that's the end surface. Or I just look below and inference it there. There, now there's a hole. How else do you use push-pull? You can use control to show the plus sign. It creates a surface inside. See that? I'm on X-ray mode. Without the plus sign, it just extends it. Okay? That is useful if you want to create, let's say, another floor, and another floor, and another floor, and something like that. And maybe I want to copy this. Control times 2x. Oh, so they are not the same distance. Right. So another way that the plus sign in push pull is useful is if you're making walls, for example. Say this is a wall. If I raise it up and it shows, the back face or this grayish bluish color, it means that the shape might be hollow or the solid is not really solid. So click Control once to add the plane below. Okay, so you can do that when you're rushing by always showing push and the plus sign. Example, I don't want to make a guideline there, or I don't want to move this one and measure it. I can just do that using the plus sign. Select, push. Or you could use the follow me tool. Let's say I want it to go here, 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 around there. So I can use my follow me tool for my shortcuts, letter Y, click, and then drag along the path. Done. Problem is sometimes it's not always a solid. So you can just redraw over the line to close it. Because, okay, this one did not close because there is a point where it's there. I found it. There is a point where it's not closed. The top and closed as well because all the edges are connected, so I can just click that and delete. My delete shortcut is letter N because the delete on the upper right is too far. Oh yeah, inferencing. Say you're drawing a line. My shortcut for line is W because it's near my hand, but you could use L. So you can see the red axis, green axis, blue. This is left, right, sideways, and then blue is up, down. You can lock that by using, let's say, blue, up arrow, right arrow, red, green arrow, left, I mean, left arrow, green, and so on and so forth. Hmm, excuse me. There. Let's say, you remember that game where you have to put that electrical thing? Usually, other people will use follow me by clicking that and then going slowly. But you could also select the whole thing. I did left to right, right? Because if I do right to left, I might hit everything else. Or in case I hit everything else, you could use Control Shift to deselect, right? Makes it sure that everything's deselected. But this is my surface, so I want to deselect. But if I hit from right to left, this one's gonna get deselected as well. So I go from left to right, and there, I selected the path. I can click on the Follow Me tool and click on the face. It's a lot easier, especially when you're making like cornices. So for example, this has a profile. Let's say something like what that what, let's say this is a design of something in the world. Right. I bam. Impromptu suits me a lot better. Oh, huh? Parang kwa. It looks like a work of art. But yeah, I have a shortcut for parallel and perspective. It's beside the number one. Forgot what you call that. And for views, I'll show that in a while. Or you could, ask questions. What else? What else do we need? Where's my código? Create a block house. Okay, let's create a block house. So rectangle. What does the house have? Let's say that's SDB. Let's say there's some kind of setback. Front setback will be a lot, bigger. Let's say these are walls. Let's say I don't want the walls to be hollow, so I click on control. Let's say that's a nice wall. Let's say there are perimeter walls, but this will be the gate side or something. You can also copy that instead of drawing it over again. Let's say the walls are that big, and then let's say I have a weird roof. So what I do here, if I offset outside, it's okay. But we are used to the roof where we do that and we put something like an X and then we pull the middle using the up arrow tool to have something like that. In this case, if I put a line all over and I try to pull this, these stretches because they're not separated. They're like glued together. A way to unglue them is to put them in groups, but we're not yet there. So using the select, deselect, and erase tools, I can just, do I erase? but then the wall will be gone inside. So what is the answer to this life problem? The answer to this life problem is to try and try until you fly. So maybe I could do this. Maybe this could be my gutter. So maybe I want a gutter here. Like, how does a gutter look like? Just maybe it will look like this. I'll use my control to make a copy. So I can go something like 45 degrees up or 90 degrees. Okay, I can do it around. But what if it reaches here? See that? It comes like that. If I do this and deselect this and deselect that, and I go to my Y. Oh, okay. Then it works. So I think the angle was not good enough. So I have my gutter now, except it's not in a group because this is an exploded style of modeling, which many of you are doing, but I actually group them, which many of you are also doing. Okay. So how do you group something? Okay, let's see. This thing, I triple click, right click, make group. For my shortcut, I just press G. So what does a group do? See, when this uh, thing coincides with this thing and they get glued, gets? Okay. But when it's a group and it tries to go here and I try to remove it, nothing happens. Because it's like you have your own model inside a group. You can even go inside the group by double clicking and you can edit inside the group and this one will not get affected. See? So if I make this another group, G, there, we have two groups. And these two groups, I can make them into another group. So make group. So we have two groups within a group. Okay, you can group and groupception. All right. So when you go inside the bigger group, it's like you're doing your own modeling. I have a shortcut to hide the rest of the model. So group. There's an advanced, I don't know if it's advanced, it's called outer shell that explodes everything. And if you see that, they trim each other. But another solid tool will be called like subtract. So this bigger group subtracted the smaller one, depending on where you click. So if I click subtract on the bigger one, solid tool subtract. The last one I clicked, or right click gets left behind, I guess. Yep. Okay. So that's how groups work, you know. So this one that's exploded, I can group them like that's one group. So make group or G, 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 and I can double click and say, oh, that's the one group. Oh, that's the other group. Oh, that's the third group. You can do that with simple, 2D shapes as well. The difference between group and component is that for my workflow, I do not select everything and right click make component because sometimes it's hassle for me to, type that. So sometimes what I do is like I make them into a group first, make group, and then make component. Oh, it's still hassle. Anyways, so if this is a component, what happens is that if I make a copy and I select this, anything I do with this, it's the same. Let's say you just Kagebunshin no Jutsu. Yeah, whatever he does, he tries to do. But you can make one of them unique. Right click and make unique so that he will leave the four of spades. No, I'm just kidding. So if you edit this too, the unique is, left outside somewhere, and this has his own. But if you make unique another copy, then he is, there are three uniques now. Okay, so what's that for? Because, it's hard to make the roof like this if this isn't a group. So what you do, if you select the whole thing, everything gets selected, even the lower one. You can deselect that. Problem is I might hit the, things there. So I'd better go to like parallel view and just select that and then make it to the group. Okay, now that it's a group, I can go into that group and I can actually delete these lines that I don't need. Yep, I don't need them. And then I can start my X. Tap, tap, click, up. Okay, the edges. to see what it might look like in a non-rendered render. Okay, how to make a door. Let's say exploded door. Use your, make your sukat. And then remember offset, except you want the jam not to be, there's no jam down here. So you double click and then deselect this part and that part. Then make your offset up there. So that's like the jam part. That's like the door part. Say the door is there and the jam is there. And there's your door. You can do the same thing with the window. Use the tape measure, T for tape measure, or steel tape. If you click on a line and it has the plus sign, it creates a guide. If you click on a node and it has the plus sign, it creates a point. Okay? And if you click control, plus sign disappears. You can make a double click, another guide from here, maybe reference. Okay, anyways, make the window. Let's say this is like standard. So I just inference it with that. I push pull, inference it with the door. I push pull, inference it with that. Okay, now you have your door and window. So like what other people do first is create the hole, and then until it reaches the other end, becomes a hole. Then usually like this is a group, so you can like draw over the hole, make the window. Maybe they want the make that a group, that in the middle. Maybe go inside and edit that. Maybe do it here and there to be a little bit OC. Maybe divide this line into, let's say, divide into 3. And then since I am too lazy to draw from there, I just get this one. I try to copy it, look for the green point, chuck, 2x, nah, and then make some frames. Maybe put a little thickness, and then something like that. And then since this is a group, I can just select this whole thing, make it a group. But since I want one more like this, I make it a component. Let's say W1 for window 1. So that when I rotate and create a copy 90 degrees, and I want to put it somewhere here, and I draw around it, yes, I hide it first, so H, hide. Okay, H is my shortcut for hide, it's actually hand. This is a group, right? This is the thing. I do Control X or cut, go inside that group and Control Shift V to paste in place. Something there, paste in place. That's when I start, making the hole. Maybe we can close this. Can we? Never mind. And then I unhide, so like edit, unhide. My shortcut is Shift H. I still have this thing. And then I can just like, inference, push it in. Maybe somewhere there. Inference, put it in, somewhere there. Okay, the thing is, if I have any changes to this window, this one will also be adjusted. See? Okay, that's the beauty of component. If you know that you're gonna use something over and over again, or just twice, better have it in the component. Because if this was a group and you want to put this here and you want to edit this, then you'll have to copy this and put it there all over again, or redraw that. Okay, maybe that's a simple 3D modeling for now. I actually have a script, but I just went impromptu because it was so hard to edit stuff, and I had the wrong colors as well. So, 안녕하세요, 여러분. 연락 ciao.